There's nothing more rewarding than seeing the fruits of your labor. Here are some updates. Hello tarantula lovers, I'm Alex and you're watching Tarantula Haven. Today I've got some updates for you. A couple of them are things that I purchased that I did not say anything about. One of them I kind of bought on a whim. I went to a pet shop and I happened to see them there, so I got them, but it was just one thing and I didn't feel like it needed to be a whole video on that one thing. And the same thing goes for the other one. I had to buy some food for my isopods, and while I was shopping there, I saw something that I wanted and the price was right and they were having a sale on it, so I decided that I was going to go ahead and get that too. But again, it was just one item and some isopod food, so I felt like it wasn't enough content to make a whole video on. These first isopods are Porcelio Scaber Orange Dalmatian, and I picked them up at the same aquarium shop where I picked up my clown isopods. I looked at them, I didn't have them, so I decided I wanted to give them a try. They're very fast and shy, more so than some of my other isopods, so it was very difficult to get them to sit still long enough to get some good video of them. I started out with about 20, and as you can see they are all over the place, so they breed very easily and quickly. They're very voracious eaters, but it seems like they don't go through the leaf litter as quickly as some of my other isopods, but they do like the little freeze-dried sardines that I throw in there. As you can see, there's lots of little bones littered around. That's all they leave after about a week or so. They're kind of plain, mostly white with some brown speckling on them. There are some that have orange splotches on them, but for the most part they're just mostly white with those little brown freckles, but I think they look pretty cool. These next isopods are Armadillidium vulgare magic potion, and these are the Japanese variety. And I noticed them when I was shopping for isopod food on a website called the Defiant Forest, and I'll put a link down below for them. But they were having a sale on them. I think they were selling 20 for about $30 or so, so I decided I would take a shot at them and see how they do. The ones that I got were very young specimens, so they've gotten some size on them, but I haven't seen any breeding yet. These guys are also very shy, and it seems like they like to burrow, especially when you shine a light on them. They'll try to go down into the ground and hide. I think they're really cool looking. They're mostly a pearlescent white with some yellow splotches on them and some black dots, similar to the Dalmatian. The other updates are things that I had purchased, but I was not entirely too confident about them because I had never kept them before. I definitely wanted them and I definitely wanted to get into them. It's just that I had never had experience with them before. Of course, I did my homework and I learned as much as I could about their husbandry and care so that I would be prepared when I finally got them in. But whenever you're keeping something fresh like that, something brand new, you're always worried as to whether you're doing things correctly or not. So you're constantly checking and you're making sure that things are fine, and you kind of overcare for them until you start seeing some positive results. So I'm happy to say that I'm seeing some positive results and I'm excited to share them with you. So let's go ahead and see what those developments are at the Tarantula Haven. Armadillidium gestroi. I wasn't too worried about husbandry on these. They seem to be relatively easy to keep. I did want to be successful with them just because they were a little bit on the pricey side. I think I paid $75 for a dozen, which I think that price has gotten cheaper now. But, you know, I just wanted to be successful with them. And it's a really good feeling when you look in there and you start seeing babies. And by the way, baby isopods are referred to as mankai. And there were lots of little mankai all over the place, and they looked just like the parents. So that was a pretty cool thing to experience. I noticed that there were a lot of mites in some of these enclosures, and I looked it up to see if that was okay. And from what I understand, these are wood mites and they're typical for these enclosures. They don't hurt anything, they're just doing the job of breaking down whatever's in the enclosures. And these are Cubaris species rubber ducky. And these are probably one of the cutest species in the isopod hobby, and I was really worried about these because I did not fund these. My wife bought them for me, and they are pricey and they require a little bit of extra care. So yeah, I was really wanting to make sure that I was successful with these because of the price. The going rate on these is about $100 for 6 of them, and my wife bought me 12. So yeah, it was a lot of pressure on me to try to make sure that they did well. I would check on them frequently when I first got them, and I would be concerned because I hardly saw them. 12 rubber duckies in there, but they like to burrow and they were hard to find, so I didn't always see them. I would probably see 2, maybe 4 at a time, and I would never see all 12. So I just kind of had to go on faith that they were doing fine. And I'm sure you could imagine how happy I was when I opened the lid one time and started seeing mankai everywhere. So not only were they breeding, but they had been breeding for a little while because I found them in different stages. There were young ones, little tiny ones, and there were bigger ones that were already developing into adults. So that really surprised me. It's just that they were hiding, but now because they're more plentiful, I get to see them a lot more frequently. And they really love their little limestone rock that I put in there. Every time I tip that rock over, there's usually a few of them on there that are collecting their limestone. That's part of their requirement to survive. The next update are my Platymerus bigotatus, commonly known as the white spot assassin bugs. When I first saw assassin bugs, I think it was on a Dark Den video, and he had gotten his spiny assassin bugs, or his giant spiny assassin bugs. I think he calls them his spiny guys, or his spiny assassin guys, or something to that effect. But I was so impressed by them, I just knew I had to have assassin bugs. Now, if you're looking at just the regular shops, your online shops, you're going to have a hard time finding assassin bugs. They're just not out there as much as tarantulas are. But I got lucky. Nature's Exquisite Creatures happened to have them, and I had to pull the trigger on them, and I bought some. These were not the spiny assassin bugs that I really wanted, but these were a good starter for me to get into them so I could start getting my husbandry down before I could find or buy any of the Cytala horrida, which are the giant spiny assassin bugs. So let's take a look at the updates on them. Platymerus bigotatus, commonly known as the white spot assassin bug. I picked these up back in December from Nature's Exquisite Creatures, and in May is when I started to see the first ones maturing into adults. I went on vacation at the end of May, and when I returned, all of them had matured. This was pretty exciting because now the next step would be them breeding and then the possibility of babies. They seem to have excellent eyesight, and they are excellent hunters. They have voracious appetite, so you have to have plenty of food for them, otherwise they may start to prey on each other. It's amazing to me to watch them hunt, stabbing their prey with their proboscis, but as you can see on these close-ups, the proboscis is not actually going into the cricket. What happens is they have a very sharp tube inside of their proboscis that shoots out almost like it's spring-loaded and stabs inside. So there's actually another tube inside of that, and that is what administers the venom, and it works very quickly, and then they use that to suck their insides out. They're very messy eaters in that after they finish sucking out the juices from inside of their prey, they just discard the carcass as a dried out husk at the bottom of the enclosure. So I keep mine with dwarf white isopods to eat up anything that they leave behind, but I do some spot cleaning here and there to get rid of most of the stuff so it doesn't begin to smell. And I was so excited to find 2 tiny nymphs inside the enclosure when I was cleaning up. So they have started breeding. And here is what their eggs look like. They're like tiny little seeds that you can find at the bottom in the substrate. And finally are my Tarantula Haven, commonly known as the horrid king assassin bug or the giant spiny assassin bug. Now, I was super excited to get these. Had looked all over the place, all the different websites and everything, and nobody carries them. I did know of one particular website that did have them at one point. They sold out and then they haven't had them since. So I don't know what it is, if people just don't keep them or they don't sell that well or what. But it wasn't until somebody told me that I could go to an assassin bug group, and a lot of people sell them from their private collections. So that's probably the only way you're going to get a hold of these, unless you get lucky and somebody puts them on their website, or you might find them at a reptile show. Now, from what I understand, these guys grow a little bit slower than the white spot assassin bugs. They do get larger, so I guess that's understandable. Mine are getting pretty big in this enclosure, so I'm having to rehouse them into a larger enclosure to give them more space. So already they're too big for this enclosure and they're getting cramped. I've suffered a couple of losses already, and I'm a bit ashamed about that because I've been so busy with my hectic schedule lately that I have not had time to pay attention to them and transfer them to a new enclosure. So I think because of the cramped conditions and the stuffiness of this enclosure is why I've lost them. So I really need to rehouse them. I still have the majority of them, so hopefully they'll still be good and be able to get to adult size and breed for me. But yeah, that's kind of a black eye on me. I don't like that I've done that, but I need to rehouse them quick. Tarantula Haven, commonly known as the horrid king assassin bug. As you can see, they're pretty crowded in here, so I definitely need to rehouse them. They grew fast on me, and I've been so busy lately I haven't had a chance to get them moved into a new enclosure. It never ceases to amaze me how fast acting their venom is. As you can see, the cricket quits moving pretty quickly after being stabbed by the proboscis. These insects are aptly named. They are not shy nor intimidated. They will go after prey that is several times their size, and their venom is so powerful that they just take it down like nothing. And these guys are already starting to show wing buds, which means that by their next molt they should become adults, and I can't wait to start having babies from this species. All right, so there are my updates. I hope you enjoyed them. I was very disappointed with my Hard King assassin bugs. I started out with 13 and I have 8 left, but the 8 that I have seem to be doing well. I know I lost one just recently. It was pretty good size and I checked on him and it was just acting kind of funny and it ended up dying. So I'm pretty sure it was because of the cramped conditions and just, too small of an enclosure. So that of course prompted me to put them in the larger enclosure. But I'm pretty sure that I lost a few when they were very young. They do cannibalize each other sometimes, especially if you don't have enough food for them. So that was probably my mistake also. I've been feeding crickets recently, and that's because I suffered a major loss this summer on my roach colonies. So I'm trying to build them back up, and I'm trying not to touch them and feed those off. So I've switched over to crickets for the time being. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but I hate crickets. They're loud. They're stinky and all that, but it's a means to an end. I'm trying to build my colonies back up. The white spot assassin bugs seem to be doing very well. I started out with, I believe, 12 on those, and I've ended up with 10, and I still have all 10. So that's a good thing. They're breeding. You saw the eggs, and I'm finding eggs all the time. So hopefully they'll start hatching out, and I'll get more, and maybe I could even start selling some off in the near future. And I'm so super stoked about my rubber duckies. I was so worried about them. My wife had bought them for me. I could not bring myself to buy them, so she went ahead and bought them for me. And that just made it even worse for me because she spent the money on them and I just wanted them to be successful. So when I started seeing babies, I was just ecstatic, and hopefully they'll continue to do well. They seem to be loving their conditions and I can see them all the time. So that is a good thing for me because I don't have to worry about them so much. And one final note before I go, if you are interested in assassin bugs and are having a hard time finding them, there is a Facebook group called World of Assassin Bugs, and there are lots of people on there showing pictures of their different types of assassin bugs, and some people do sell from their private collections. So if you're looking for some and you're in the United States, that would be a good place to look, and I think they also have people on there from the UK. And that does it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I have a Teespring store where I sell Tarantula Haven merchandise. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, and a special thank you to my newest Patreon supporter, Gina Russell. Thank you, Gina. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to become a patron yourself, I have a link down below in the description, as well as all the others. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas, isopods, and assassin bugs.